Hi, everyone. This is Jose Velasquez, and welcome to the show. Of course, HireMilitary brings you weekly shows to inspire you and to bring you veterans who have made the transition and are now moving into life after the military. So let's take a quick look at our good friend, Lefford Fate. Before that, though, let me introduce you to our sponsor for the afternoon. Our sponsor is American Corporate Sponsors. ACP's free mentoring program connects veterans, active duty, and military spouses with leading industry corporate professionals for customized mentorships. As they like to say, find your next career with ACP. And now what's most exciting about this afternoon is our interview with our good friend, Lefford Fate. Lefford, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. That was cool. That video was amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, I even threw a little Space Force in there. So,
Well, I saw that. That's awesome.
We got to give him some love. So,
Yes.
so let me introduce Lefford. Lefford, he has many titles. And so, we've kind of boiled them down into a few. I mean, he's a well-known TEDx speaker. He's a motivational speaker. He's an author. He's also a support services director in his community. And he's a retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant. Lefford, again, welcome to the show. And I invite you to tell us a little bit more about yourself. And maybe we start with your career.
Awesome. Well, I tell you, all that stuff sounds good. And I just had a conversation with my wife, and she says, go with what got you here. I'm a husband, father, grandfather. I'm also, I'm their husband, I'm their father, I'm their papa. So that's what I do. I spent nearly 31 years in the United States Air Force, and it was pretty interesting to me. I left home at 17 years old, joined the Air Force, spent nearly 31 years in. I like to tell people I went from my parents' house to Uncle Sam's house, and then I found myself at 48 years old to have to make a transition. And in a lot of ways, I was ready. But Jose, in a lot of ways, I wasn't. I didn't know how to speak civilian. I didn't know what a civilian was. So I had to figure that part out. But it was a great ride. And anybody out there, I'll tell them this. You are enough, and you have all the skills that you need. You just got to get your mindset right. And once that mindset's right, pay attention to some of the things that you need to do for your transition, and life will be good out here, because it is good out here.
Yes, it is. It is. So, of course, you transitioned a little while ago, but can you point to some of the highlights of your transition?
Well, some of the highlights for my transition, Jose, was honestly because I was involved in the community before I got out. I was the command chief of the 20th Fighter Wing. So in that capacity, I had a lot of opportunity to spend time downtown, get to know people, understand some of the civilian people. And because I was thinking about, I've never been an adult civilian before. And because that's the case, what do I need to do? So again, I just started to try to find out what was going on, what was important, tried to figure out what I wanted to do. And so when I did that, getting out, looking around, meeting folk, and following through with the transition programs. As we all know, most of the base have basic TAP, Transitional Assistance Program. I was blessed to be able to go to the Chief's TAP, or the Executive TAP. And in that, I learned a lot. But this is one of the things that I thought taught me more than anything. Other people have done what I've done. There's a roadmap out there. So look for people that's gotten out in the last few years. Look at what they did, where they're going, what worked and what didn't work. And those things were what made it helpful for me. And if I can, I didn't have this, but you may have already talked about the program that we're doing from We to Me, that transition program. So there are actually transition programs that are offered and operated across the country and the world now that makes things a lot easier than 9 years ago. And it's hard to believe it's been 9 years. It's gone fast.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And I know I don't look like it. I know you're looking like,
I look
9
like I'm the one
years.
that's been out for 9 years. What's going on? Hey, listen, I wanted to let everybody know, by the way, if you're having any trouble with LinkedIn, I encourage you to run over to our HireMilitary page on either YouTube or Facebook. It's going live there, so no issues. And again, I encourage you to jump over there if you'd like to. We invite you to ask questions, and we're really excited about answering some of those questions, and not so much myself, of course, but my guest. And so, Lefford, you're absolutely right. There are many programs out there right now that are available to our service members. You mentioned one that I participated in last year and made a humongous difference in my life, of course. And so I invite you to tell us a little bit more about that. But in addition to that, obviously you are now fully transitioned into life after the military. And
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know, maybe I'm taking a chance with using that word, because I know transition can take a while, but I know that you have established yourself, and would love to learn a little bit more about what you're doing now, and maybe we can talk about that some more.
Well, as I said, right now I'm the support services director for the city of Sumter. And if you're Air Force, it's a support group commander. If you're in the Army, it's more support group side. Army is staff side. It's a lot of that thing, but this is a transition. I first got out and I worked in a hospital setting. I ran a geriatric mental health program, did that for a few years. Then I worked in the prison system. I ran healthcare for the Department of Correction. And now I've been doing this job for a little over 4 years. And you may say, Lefford, why are you telling me all that? I'm telling you that for a couple of reasons. One reason is where you land may not be where you stay. Don't be afraid to jump out, get involved, and say, you know what, this is good, but there's something better for me. Whatever it is that is my purpose, it is my responsibility to go out there and search for. So, but it'll be okay. That's the thing for me. It will be okay. And that there's a lot of opportunities out there. When I left the military, you could not have told, Jose, if we would have been having this conversation in 2012, you could not have told me that we'd be doing what I'm doing right now. But it's right. It is right. I remember saying years ago that if I can't find something like what I'm doing in the military or what I love doing, I'm going to make it. So you can either find it or you can either make it. But if you want it bad enough and you're willing to put in the work, do the research and grind for it and have faith that is there, it will be there for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm getting the goosebumps already. So, what's interesting that you shared, for me is that, a lot of folks, are very nervous as you're transitioning. It's new to all of us. I don't know that anyone has all the answers as you're transitioning to, and of course you don't have all the answers because
Right.
you've never done it before when you're doing it. And yet, you made a great point. If you don't find it, you can make it. And in many respects, you've really kind of focused your career and your life in a way that allows you to, of course, not only build a financial foundation, but as much or maybe more, build an environment where you can foster your passions. And I know that you really care about helping others around you and in your community. Share with us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, your gifts will make room for you. I'm a believer. I never apologize for that, but I say stuff because that's who I am. But I think your gifts make room for you. Jose, you are great in front of television. You got a great voice. You do that. So the thing that is in you that makes you who you are, those are the things that you should pursue. There's a reason that that's put in you. So what I did was I said, I love helping people. I love running my mouth. I mean, I actually used to get in trouble by running my mouth all the time, but those are the things that I'm good at. And I like learning. And so as you go around looking for the thing, how can I use those skills that are me? The things that I did in the military that I love doing, how can I find that thing out there? That is what I went for. And in every job that I've had since, and it sounds like a lot, but I've had 3 major positions. I wanted to find out what was my requirements And then that's the standard, and I want it to go here.
Yeah.
And ever since I got out, I learned this. Do whatever those folk want you to do, plus a little bit extra, and you will have time to do the things that you're gifted in.
That's great.
And I found the opportunity because as a speaker, I put myself in a position in those jobs to say, if you need somebody to speak, can I do that? Because that's what I really love to do. What message do you want to share? And I'll share it for you. If you're a physical fitness person, most corporations out there are getting these fitness things so they don't have to pay as much as insurance. Right. Hey, I used to do that in the military. Can I help you with that process? I found that the things that I love to do make me enthusiastic. And when you pour yourself into it, somebody will sit and be like, could you do that for us? Or if you volunteer, that's awesome. So there's a lot of things that we did like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Jose, let me add one more thing before I forget. Yeah. It doesn't matter what I say to you right now. You may still think, oh yeah, that's cool for you, but I'm still nervous. You're going to be nervous. Mm-hmm. You should be a little bit nervous because it's something that you've never done before. Don't be too cocky. Be confident, but don't be too cocky. But it'll be okay. Trust the process. But I'm not going to try to tell you don't be nervous because you're going to have that, but you're going to still be okay. You're not strange because you're a little bit nervous. Right. I was, and I still went through it.
I was, and I still am. Yeah. Hey, Sherman asked this great question. I popped it up here just a minute ago while you were talking, but the unknown, that's the big one that gets us all, makes us all nervous. Fear of the unknown. How do we overcome that, or do we overcome that?
I don't think you get over it. I think you get through it. Go through, feel it. I'm a firm believer that your emotions are there for a reason. I mean, I used to tell people, don't get mad. Don't be sad. Don't be really. If you're nervous, own that you're nervous and ask yourself, why am I nervous? I'm nervous because this is unknown. I don't know how to do that. Okay, so what can I do to alleviate some of those nerves? If I don't know anything about it, research it. Spend some time thinking about it. Talk to some people about it. This is horrible, and I'm going to say it anyway. There's somebody even though I know you're an honorable, humble person, Jose, there's some people that you're like, I'm better than them in this. I'm a little bit smarter at them than this. I'm a little bit more talented than them in this. Go find those people. And this is what I said, if they made it, I know I'm going to make it. Now, that's not right. I'm not going to win any awards for saying stuff like that. But I say that jokingly in that there are 200,000 people a year that transition from the military. And most of those people get it right. So, if they do, you can.
Yeah.
And then find the people that you respect and love and say, how did you do it? What made it right? And follow those pathways. Because we prepare for a mission. There are many missions when we were in the military that we never did before. And we said, oh, got it. And we went and did it. So I believe that you could do the same thing out here. Give yourself an order to not only meet the mission, but exceed and excel in that mission.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Charles says, use that fear.
I like that.
Love that. Love. And yeah. Rich has a great one too. He talks about the network, and I know how important the network is for me. Having a network to talk about the stress that you're experiencing during your transition is extremely valuable as well. Has that been your experience as well?
Exactly. I talk about that thing. Who is it that's done it well? And then just listen and talk to people. I believe, and you probably heard this before, that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. So who are the 5 people that are transitioned or have transitioned? And that are, again, that could talk to you, that can alleviate fears. If you have a spouse or a significant other, huddle with that person. This is what I'll tell you. And I did not do this well. I was so focused on my transition, taking care of the family and all that. And here, that I didn't listen to some of the fears and concerns of my family.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that. Now I had people say, so what did Jody think? What do you mean, Jody? Don't have to worry about it. I'll get a job, da, da, da. But that's because somebody that was checking my six said, go find out how your spouse is doing. What are your kids thinking? So I started thinking about those things. So if you got a family unit, have your family unit stay connected to this process. As you said, we went to the LTI process, the Leadership Transition Institute. And in that, the spouses or significant others were invited to participate in the process. That's hugely important.
Mm-hmm.
Hugely important.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. So, not only is the network so incredibly important, but my experience has been and continues to be, let me put it that way, because I'm surely no expert, but my experience is the importance of mentors is monumental as we transition. You're a mentor. I think the world of you, and a number of other of your cohort of your team are mentors of mine as well. Matter of fact, some of the people probably in this comment section who are watching us right now are incredible mentors. The HireMilitary CEO is a mentor of mine. And so I would invite you to share with us your thoughts on the importance of mentorship, especially during the transition process.
I think mentorship, and not only mentorship, being a good protege when you go through this process, because this is the deal. One day you're going to be the old guy. It's not now, but one day you're going to be the old guy. Pay it forward. Each one, reach one, teach one. Great opportunity. But it is important to, again, reach up to people that's already made that transition and go there. Find people that are in the transition process to say, what is it that I need to do to make this work? Not the 6 months or a year out. I'm talking about 3 to 5 years out. If you're coming up on, it's not too late, but it's too late to waste time to start reaching out to people that's done it or gonna do it. Mentors in the community. If there is something that you're interested in doing, reach out and get mentorship from those people out in corporate or industry or that are civilians. If you're looking at being a GS or a Department of Defense employee, get mentors that are doing that. Some of my best mentors are no longer among us. There are books, there's videos, there's resources that are out there that I can read and study. I think most of us in the military look for mentors that are walking around or somebody that looks like us. In this day of diversity and inclusion, Jose, look for somebody that doesn't look like you, talk like you, and think like you, because those are some of the people that are going to help you more than people that are just like you, right? Again, I'm go back. I wanted to be a speaker, so I joined Toastmasters International organization that's got people from all over the world. And whatever I'm curious about, I can ask people about. And I can take time to, even though I'm a speaker, I got to shut this, open these, receive mode. And whenever I'm in receive mode, I got an opportunity to learn some cool new tricks and tips.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle says he started planning 5 years out. He said the more time you give yourself, the better the transition you'll have. I agree. Someone asked me the other day, what's the best time to, start transitioning? And I said yesterday.
Yeah.
Second best time is today, of course. Yeah. So, Kyle, great job with that.
Yeah, great job. And, I got to be honest. I remember, though, if you were a senior leader, if you're a senior NCO or senior officer, if you started talking about transitioning too early, you got the side eye.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so some of that is still there. Hey, know where you are and talk to the people that you know and trust and say, hey, I'm trying to get myself ready, because I think that a more informed service member is a better service member, because it's really hard to focus on two things at one time. I know everybody talk about multitasking and all that, but if I'm worried about what I'm going to be doing in my next life and I'm freaking out the last 6 months, something may get broken. But if you start forecasting out far enough in advance, you can do the things that you need to do to be prepared, and the process is much smoother.
Yeah, yeah. I think also, my experience has been from talking to people is, the five-sided puzzle pattern and places like it. You have a lot of senior leaders, people who are senior NCOs, and also, senior officers who are so busy and are so dedicated to their mission that sometimes they're the worst to transition. And I hate to use those
Yeah,
terms.
yes, we are.
But my goodness, you're like, hey man, as the Army term says, the Army will go rolling along. The Army keeps rolling along, and so you have to stop for a moment and really consider the fact that every day that you spend not preparing is a day that may
Yeah.
unfortunately have significant drawbacks as you begin the transition.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
Yeah, two stories. One example, most of us have read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and we talk about keep sharpening our saw. But the other story that I got was from John C. Maxwell, and he was telling a story about a guy that was killing himself as far as his health, wasn't taking care of himself and all that stuff. And the doctor said, hey, you need to start running, you need to start walking every day, running, you need to start eating right, you need to exercise, you need to take time to rest. And he said, I don't have time to do that, doc. I don't have time. He said, hey, need you to pull out your calendar. And he said, what do you mean? He said, when do you have time to die?
Oh. Oof.
Because if you don't do these things, you're going to die.
Mm.
And it was like, oh, that's tough. So
Yeah.
all of us are going to leave the service one day.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah. Yeah. The service.
We can die in the service. We can be retired. We can transition. We can get out, but we're going to leave.
Yeah.
And hopefully there are a whole lot more tomorrows than there were yesterdays. Hopefully that's the case. So what does it take for you to get ready to be that person for your family, for your person, so you could be a happier transitioning person?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Hey, by the way, what I love about our comment section is a lot of times there's great interaction amongst our commenters. And I invite you all to speak with each other, of course, and provide guidance and thoughts as you're talking. I love it. And as we're talking. But, one of the questions that people were talking about within the comment section was, I think people really felt what you were talking about with family and the transition being part of a process that you're not the only one that goes through. And I really feel that. I feel that, the transition was something that had I been a little too selfish about, I would have missed the opportunity to transition with my family. And something would have gotten lost in translation there, and it probably wouldn't have been good.
Right. Truth. And it is huge. I mean, whether they're going to school, whether they're out of school. My wife is English. She's from England, and there's some things that I promised her when I got out. Mm-hmm. I'm not telling you guys to promise anybody anything, but I had to make up some time because I drug her around. I was like, I got the call. You got 6 hours to be at the deployment control center and see ya. And so I made some promises that I fulfilled when I got out, and that was really helpful. But I will tell you something again, don't do some of the things I did. I actually had a job when I got out, and I was like, let me jump into it right away. I finished up. I had my retirement ceremony. The next day, I was doing stuff. And I said, I'll just work for a few months, and then I'll take some time off. 18 months later, I took my first significant holiday. Mm-hmm. It is a different world, probably. You have to figure out, in my opinion, how you're going to make that transition. You don't want to be going 120 miles an hour and hit the brakes, because that's painful. You don't want to be going 20 miles an hour and then have to jump to 120 miles an hour. That can be painful. Plan that out. Be strategic with this process. What do I need? Where am I going to go? How much time do I need? Let me get into it. I'm not going to say ease into it, but let me see, get in where I fit in, because that's hugely important. And a lot of us don't think about those things. But I would ask you, take some time to think about where you're going, because if you don't, you'll be like, all this. Even with jobs, I know people, and again, where you land doesn't mean where you stay, but I do know people that took jobs out of fear because they didn't. And so they took something that filled their bank account, but emptied their soul. And they were miserable, and everybody around them were miserable. Yeah. Don't do it. Now, if somebody drop a couple of million on you for a year, maybe suck it up. But you know what I said, but there's some stuff that you could think about. What is it? But be strategic. Just don't, run out there and get run over and you're not knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And somebody asked a question. Jean-Jacob Judy asked about COVID during this time frame. Of course, is a very interesting time to leave the service because it is a significant obstacle. But what he says is it could also be an opportunity. And then asks what your advice would be to transitioning service members right now. That's a good question.
I'm gonna tell you, I love that question. Great question. To me, this is the deal. I think COVID can be a cocoon or it can be a coffin. COVID to me is an opportunity for people to go back to the drawing board, go back into the lab and say, what are the things that I need to do? There's some expectations out there now. You can go down Corsica, from John Maxwell to Tony Robbins to Brendan Bouchard. All of the biggest people in the world are given low cost or free courses that you could take and suck up so much knowledge. Yeah. You can get all of this stuff and practice your craft before you step out. It can be a cocoon or it can be a coffin. Some people are going to come out here, going to be like this. Some people are going to come out here, let's go. Mm-hmm. Which one do you want to be? So there are also some options. There's some options that, you can extend through COVID till everything is right. If that makes sense for you, do it. But think about what you want and what's the best time. I got to be honest. When it comes to speaking, now I'm not on as many physical stages as I used to be, but I'm speaking all the time now. That's my grind. I love speaking. But if you want to get your education and you didn't have time before because you was beaching it and playing football and all this stuff, you're not doing a lot of that stuff now. Take that time to use it. This is not what you asked, but this is Lefford Fate, and I'm your friend, right? We got 24 hours in a day that we can work with. Most of us sleep from 5 to 8 hours. I got 5 to 8 hours. I'm going to do my thing. You got 8 to 10 hours of work. 8 to 10 hours of work. Most of us are going to have 8 to 10 hours somewhere in there that is our fortune time. What can you do with those 8 to 10 hours? I'm not going to ask for 7 days a week. Let's go for 5. If you take 5 days a week and you say, okay, I got 8 to 10, I'm going to take 2. So if you take 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 hours towards your retirement, your transition, your move, and you say, whatever it is that I want to do, let's say you only have a year. I'm not going to do math because I'm a victim of the Georgia educational system, but this is what I tell you. If you spend a year with 10 hours a week towards your definite major purpose, that future, your purpose, your goal, tell me somebody that won't be ready. Give me somebody that won't be ready, but you have to be intentional about doing that thing. I think COVID is an amazing opportunity to get things done. Napoleon Hill said that for every adversity, there's a seed or of equivalent or greater benefit. So look for the seed, plant it, nurture it, and you'll see what grows from that. I challenge you to see what grows from that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you talked about Napoleon Hill because I'm just such a fan of Think and Grow Rich, and I encourage anyone who's listening to us right now, if you haven't read that book, you just got.
Oh my goodness!
And I love the fact that you were saying, and this kind of ties together, and you probably do this on purpose, but you do it so effortlessly. It's hard for us to grasp it sometimes, but mentors, and they don't have to be living. They don't even have to be somebody It
right.
could be someone who wrote a book 100 years ago. And then, people seeing things from different perspectives. And I think about Napoleon Hill. One of the things that attracts me the most is I'm reading a piece of history as well, because it's through the eyes of a man who lived in the early 20th century. And so there's these names that are in there that, are not popular any longer in, just pop culture, because they've gone. But they're titans of our country, titans of our industry, of many industries, I should say. But you get so much from those mentorships. And then, like you said, the opportunity to train through books, through courses, to really prepare yourself. And it reminds me of, I had an old supervisor, a sergeant major. He was just tough as nails, old Vietnam veteran, just tough as nails. And he used to say, whenever I complained too much about how hard I was working, he'd say, listen, Velasquez, there's 3 shifts in the day and you can work 2 of them, pick them. I'll give you the other one. Hey, I'm not a taskmaster. I'd say, all right, well, of course he was just joking with me. But I do think about the fact that, you've got that great recommendation of really kind of focusing. Yeah, you got a job, but transitioning does become a job, doesn't it?
Right.
I mean, this process is that important.
And the stuff we have, I can't remember his name. We got a guy that is active duty now. And because what he was learning about his transition, he took that information and brought it back to his unit and helped people with it. Yeah. So how you benefit other people, you can end up benefiting yourself, because again, you're not alone in this. All of us are going to transition at some time or the other. Whatever you learn, come back and teach. And one of the things that I'm learning, Jose, is that when I teach something, I learn it better. Mm-hmm. Right. And as long as you're helping people, you're going to get a whole lot out of that.
Yeah. Well, look, John, I bet you learned this one, and he's paying it forward. Budget time, budget money, find the waste and turn it into your benefit.
Oh, I love it. But listen, I can tell by your bank account and your calendar what you're about, right? And so in your last year or so that you're getting ready to transition, what's on your calendar and what are you doing with your money? I'm not a financial planner, manager, none of that stuff. But the reality is we all know that our money's going to be different when we transition. Yeah. How different is it going to be? You can know that. They're not hiding that. Go ahead and figure that out now. Okay, what do I need? Please don't do what many of us did. And I had a conversation with a great friend of mine, retired chief. This is what he said. I went out there and I looked for a job to fill the gap between what I used to make and what I was going to have. What? I'm going to go find a job worth a third of what I am? Now, if you don't want money, if that's not your thing, if you just want to go, that's fine. But you know what you want. If you don't, sit down and think about it. I think it's worth your time to sit down there and say, Jose, what is it that you want? What do you really want? Not what somebody else told you, not what you think's cute or what's nice, but what do you want? Yeah. Okay, I know what I want. Know where you are. That's what you do with a GPS system, right? This is where I am. This is where I want to go. And then you ask yourself, what do I need to do to get to that space? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. This is what I need to do. Am I prepared? Am I qualified? Can I get qualified? Have these conversations with yourself. You're not crazy when you talk to yourself. Maybe if you answer yourself and be like, what? Maybe. But if you ask yourself these questions, answer those questions. And then if you don't know the answers, go figure it out. Yeah. Some of this stuff will be much easier for us if we follow these procedures and processes.
Yeah. And I think it really can be. I mean, what do you want to do is one of the most terrifying questions a service member can ask themselves. When I heard you ask me that question, I almost passed out. I'm glad you didn't notice, or maybe you did. I don't know, but I was trying to hide the fear in my eyes. What do you want to do is terrifying, because you're just, when you're in the military, you might get the location you want, maybe a position that you're interested in, but generally speaking, it's all within the framework. You're in the box. But when you're leaving the service, and you mentioned this a little earlier, you hinted at it, is a lot of people will go where it's safe. They'll leave the service and, well, this was my MOS. This was my AFSC or rate. So I'm supposed to go do that. And if you ask them, well, did you love what you did? Love? What? They haven't even thought of whether they like what they did. So
And I love that. See, there's a couple of things with that, and you'll hear me say there's a couple of things a lot. There's a couple of things where I will do what I need to do if I need to do it to get where I want to go. And I can love the outcome of what I'm doing, because I don't think you have to love. It's helpful.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing this particular job because it's gonna give me the ability to do all the stuff that I love, and most of my time I'm really, really happy, that's a way I can get with that. But what would it be like if you actually got to choose what you loved and then did that? Because I don't really think that that's impossible. Now, if you want to be, I'm not going to say the next Tiger Woods, but because he's in pain right now. But if you want to be a pro golfer and you suck and you're not going to go practice and you're not going to get ready, I may not put my time and effort into doing that. But if, again, a speaker, a broadcaster, an interviewer, if you know you love that, how can I fulfill that dream of mine to do it? I would rather you go there, because the stuff that we love doing, we will grind harder to go get.
Yeah.
And so, but take the time to ask yourself that question. I'm going to tell you, I think that we beat it out of ourselves. And I know we should be looking at the clock, but I get hyped about this. But we beat the passion out of a lot of people. You can't do what you like. You can't do what you love. You just got to do this. Be realistic. Oof. If you have a dream big enough that you're willing to fight for it, go for it. I hear all the time, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? That's a nice question. That's a nice question. But Jose, what would you do if you knew you might fail, but it would be so good if you didn't that it would be worth it? I would ask myself that question at least once in a while.
Damn, man. Wait, look, I'm over here posting this in the questions or in the comments. I'm gonna start with this one right here. Hold on. And ask people in our comment section to answer that question for themselves. And then, of course, the second part, which is, what would you do if you might fail?
Yeah, you might fail, but it still would be worth it.
It would still be worth it.
Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you something. I wish I had a picture of my wife. I'm not so sure. I'm like, sometimes I wonder, why in the world did she say yes? But I'm glad I asked, because if I wouldn't have asked her, she wasn't gonna come ask me. It was worth the no. If my wife would have, I would not have my children. I would not have my life if it was not for me taking the chance. And I was punching above my head, but I got it. Yeah. I got it. And so sometimes you got to go get it.
Absolutely.
Jose, like, I'm not asking this guy back ever.
No. Actually, I was thinking that was me. I remember specifically thinking I just got to take my chance with this one when I met my wife. So it worked out, thankfully.
Yeah. See, but it's worth it. It is worth it if it's something that will bring you joy and passion. Right? It's worth going for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, David made a good point. He said he's learned more from his failures than his successes. That's a great.
We don't like failure, but David, thank you. Failure is only feedback unless you let it stop you.
Oof. Yep.
Right. If it's don't do that again, or don't do it like that again. So that's what you keep doing. We're not going to learn a whole bunch of stuff from all of our successes. But with that too, David, I'll tell you, you can learn from other people's failures. If your partner just tried something and be like, ooh, I ain't doing that. Sometimes you got to use those people. That's why it's important to ask questions, to read the books. I wrote a book with Jack Canfield called Success Starts Today. And in it, it talked about transitioning from military to civilian. It gave you some tools and techniques. Leadership Transition Institute. There's a bunch of HireMilitary. There's a bunch of reading out there. Stars and Stripes. There's a bunch of stuff out there, so you can follow the path. What is his name? Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. Okay, follow the clues.
Follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
No, that's a great one. That's a great one. So, so I recognize, I surely don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you're a busy person, but I would say, I mean, people are still transacting in our comment section, and so if it's all right with you, I'd like to go just a few more minutes.
Yeah, man, let's go. I'm loving this.
So, so some folks are asking. Matter of fact, that was me. I put failure as feedback. So, but someone said, thoughts on trying different things after retirement, finding what you love. Do you have any particular techniques on maybe filtering some of the things that you're so used to doing that you don't know that they're things you don't want to do? For example, I did a lot of paperwork and I was probably pretty good at it, but man, did I hate paperwork. And so when I was transitioning, it was likely very instinctive of me to just assume that I would be doing something with paperwork. And it wasn't until people like you challenged me that made me think, do I really want to do that? No, I don't want to do that. I hate paperwork, but someone else may love it. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is there any ideas?
Just what you just said. I mean, everybody talks about a to-do list. Perfect. How about a stop doing list? But also a list of these are the things that I really would like to do. Mm-hmm. These are some things that I don't want to do. I mean, this stuff is simple. If it wasn't simple, I wouldn't be able to do it, right? But think about it. When was the last time that you actually had the opportunity to say, you know what, if I had my dream, these would be the things that I want to do. Mm. If I can get away that I would never do these things again, and write those things down. We got this thing called a reticular activating system. What we look for, we find. So if you know what you want and know what you don't want and focus on the things you want and reject the things you don't want, and then when you're out there looking for a job or when you're telling people that these are the things that you want to do, what was it, Les Brown, that said most people don't fail because they aim and don't hit. It's because most people don't aim. They're just looking, I need a job, need a job, need a job. Yeah. It means the same thing as I want a job doing this. Mm-hmm. Tell your people, these are the things that I want to do. And again, if you like, I can't remember who it was that said they're 5 years out. Richard, I'm 5 years out. Okay. So these are the things that I want right now. These are the things that I'm passionate about and I want to do. And that's what I think I'm going to do 5 years out. Am I qualified to do that yet? If I'm not, do the things that it takes to get qualified. Who's out there doing it? Let me go visit them. Let me go see them. I'm going to take a couple of days off. I'm going to go to a workshop. I'm going to watch a TED talk about that thing. Test it. And because you may think you like something. Who was it that said they wanted to be a doctor until they saw a chicken being gutted and they passed out and they said, best I not be a doctor. I mean, but if you take the time to do those things, you put yourself in a much better place.
Yeah. Yeah. I encourage people with digital media skills to really use, platforms like LinkedIn to search for industries that they might be interested in and go listen in. Not only, of course, you can jump on YouTube and really, like you said, attend a TED Talk, even if you can't physically attend one. Listen in on one of these leadership Zoom calls that happen all the time. And then for me, I'll just go connect or follow a bunch of people who are in an industry that, I may be interested in. And then I'll just I'll watch what they talk about and I'll engage with them. And over time, I'm like, I really wanted to be a baker, but if this is what being a baker is, it's not what I want to get into. And then I move on to something else. But at least I know that I've taken that information in, like you said. So I really like that.
I like what you just talked about again, because one of the things I like doing about having a mastermind, Jose, I like kicking stuff around because I could be talking to my wife, especially about stuff that I'm going to do. And she said, you hate that. I'm like, no, I don't. Well, you always complain about it. Well, I'm an ex-cop. And if our favorite thing is complaining, right? Mm-hmm. But she said, no, if you're always complaining about something, that's probably not something that you want to do. So I got somebody again checking my six. I call her wife. But there are people in my life that do the same thing. I worked in the prison system for several years. It's probably one of the best jobs that I've ever had. It was I got a PhD, not a technical PhD, but I learned so much about life and stuff. And I had a good friend tell me that he was worried about me because I'm a positive guy. He said, that's going to pull you down. And I used that feedback to say, what can I do to make sure I don't get myself pulled down? Because I wouldn't have noticed that would have pulled me down. So I steeled myself so that wouldn't negatively affect me. And because you can't beware of stuff that you're not aware of. And so he helped me understand that could bother me. I'm glad I did it, but I also know I probably couldn't have done it for 20 years because it would have drained me. I didn't have that much fortitude to be able to handle that for that long.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I can see that. I can see that. And the fact that you were self-aware enough to know that, that the likelihood is, to go for a long, career in that particular field was not going to suit you.
Right. But if I didn't have somebody that was telling me that I gave permission to say that to me, because, a lot of time we don't want people to tell us stuff, but I give permission to people to give me feedback because some people, because everybody don't have your best interests at heart, but the people that I know and love that love me, I'll say, hey, when you see something, say something.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Hey, so John asked, and this is really good because I know you do a lot of coaching and you talk to a lot of senior leaders who are getting ready to transition and people who are in positions of either trust or power, sometimes both. And he said, you mentioned the side eye if you transition too early. Fighting that stigma primarily for mid and junior leadership, how would you get past the stigma to help the $200,000 transitioning service member?
200,000 people that are transitioning. Yeah. I tell leaders that's a problem. John, great question. We talk to leaders, one of the cool things, Jose, that we came through, we had senior people. We had 06s and E9s, and we had everybody in between. And we said, hey, this is important. And so we tell that story. And what we tell people is, if you can, when you're looking at your transition, you're not talking about getting out, you're talking about getting better. So when you're talking about getting better, seeking that knowledge and understanding that you can bring back and spread, that eases that stuff up because you really don't have your eye off of the ball. You're just saying, how can I be better at using my skills? Yeah. And I think we're getting a little bit better now than we were back 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Because they know now that people are going to be getting out. They know we're doing some drawdowns, but you still have to take care of all that stuff. Again, 8, 8, and 8, basic math. If you're killing the game when you're supposed to be doing your job in your career, and then you're doing this side stuff, I think a lot of people will help you make the transition. That's what I found.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I hope that was helpful. If there was, and again, it didn't have to stop as follow-on questions. Also, if you got anything, please shout out.
Yeah. And I encourage folks after our conversation to please feel free to ask additional questions. And I know Lefford will likely go back to the discussion and be able to answer some of those questions, when he has an opportunity.
100.
I encourage you to do that. So Lefford, okay, so people that are watching, how can they get a hold of you? How can they get, to your program? Share with us how people can stay with you.
Okay. LeffordFate.com is my personal website. But if you want to reach out to me, it is LeffordFate@SumterSC.gov. I am again, support services director, but one of the things that I get to do, Jose, which is freaking awesome, is that I get to liaise between Shaw Air Force Base and the city of Sumter. We are called the Gamecock City, but one of the things we do, we have uncommon patriotism. My community loves the military, and so what we do is we have a retired 2-star and a retired chief that are out there going between the base and the community, making sure what can we do to help transition people. I told you I work with LTI, Leadership Transition Institute. If they don't have that, please reach out to us. We are continuously trying to figure out ways to help those people that gave their time, their effort, and some their lives for their family so it can be good. So I'm blessed to be in a position where I get to help military people and their families as a part of my day-to-day. So it's real easy to give you my lfate@sumtersc.gov. Shoot me an email, and I'm there.
Yeah.
If I don't know, I'll know somebody.
There you go. There you go. I like that. And as a proud alum of the LTI's changing focus, moving from we to me, which most of us are terrible at the beginning.
Yes.
You use we all the time. And when you're transitioning, you have to give yourself permission to start saying me. Yeah. And that this course is terrific. And of course, Lefford is one of the main pillars of the program, and he really makes a humongous difference. So I encourage you to go to their website and check it out. And then also, for those of you who are watching, I encourage you to also go, and it's scrolling across the bottom, HireMilitary.us, especially within the last year of being in service, because what they do is they have this rolling admission kind of program for internships for people, and it goes all the way from senior leaders down to the most junior service members who maybe were in just one enlistment. So I encourage people to go over there, take a look. They've got a search database. You may find something that absolutely interests you, and they will work to place you and set you up for great success after the military. Lefford, closing thoughts on how people can best navigate transition and move into a happy, successful, fulfilling life after the military?
It's going to be okay, right? If you want it, go get it. Just get prepared. Just be prepared. Don't wait to the last minute and kick it off because you're going to get a side eye. Don't kick it off because you're nervous and we start procrastinating. Know that all of us are going to transition, and then ask yourself this question. What am I going to do the day after I turn in that ID card? Ask yourself that question. If you're prepared, what are you going to do? If you're not prepared, what are you going to do? Ask yourself and be honest. What are you going to do? And then whatever answer you want, that'll be what you should be acting towards. I hope that makes sense. But I got to say it one more time. It's good out here. It is. And I don't care if you've been out 1 year or 30, it's good out here. It's different, but it's good. So be ready for it. Don't be scared. Yeah. Well, somebody shared with me, I don't remember if it was you or someone else, but somebody said, the military has 100% transition rate. So everyone makes it. It goes back to what you said. Sometimes you got to look around and say, if that guy made it over there, I'll be all right. I hope that's not the only thing, but I guarantee you that will be the one that people like. And you're going to be looking for that guy. Now, I'm going to tell you, Jose, if everybody is pointing to you to do that, you might be that one. Hey, I remember like Velasquez, if he could do it. If he did it. That guy. Yeah. Oh, my God. Lefford, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much. Same here, my friend. Thanks to everyone who has commented, interacted with us. Very much appreciated. And of course, on Tuesdays, we focus on American corporate partners who create amazing mentorships for our service members as they transition and combine them with industry partners and our military spouses as well. So that's terrific. Yes. Lefford Fate, who is our TEDx speaker, motivational speaker, author, support services director, and retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Lefford. It has been a pleasure, and looking forward to maybe having you on the show sometime down the way. Be my pleasure. Let me know if there's anything I can ever do. Thanks again. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.